Previously on the Challenge All-Stars. We wrote a song. I flew like a bird. I fell victim to the show's lack of pregnancy testing. And somehow, I did too. Happy belated New Year! Thanks for tuning in to DVR Czar, the channel where TV rules all. And welcome to the Recap Corner! Today, I'll be talking about Season 2, Episode 8 of the Challenge All-Stars. How did I just realize this week that all season, each episode title has been a reference to a song? A lot of what happens in this episode felt sort of inevitable. Jody and Brad lose their first mission. Jasmine and Laterrian go home. Ayanna does something erratic. But all of those things came about in unexpected ways. Jody and Brad don't just get edged out by another strong team. They make mistakes during the mission that expose potential weaknesses in their otherwise intimidating partnership. Jasmine and Laterrian do kind of get smoked in the arena, but the elimination game is innovative and fun to watch. And Ayanna's erraticness reaches an all-time high, spilling over into an outpouring of the kind of chaotic, surreal energy reality TV was built on. This episode showcases two teams who have been mostly in the background, Ayanna and Tech, and Janae and MJ. We've seen a lot of Tech's role within the King's Palace, but his partnership with Ayanna has gone mostly unexplored. We know that they've known each other for 20 years, but not in what capacity. Have they kept in touch that whole time? We also know that Ayanna has a crush on Tech, which I would guess he knows, or at least suspects. She acts and reacts totally differently toward him than anyone else in the cast. Still, Tech tells us that constantly reining in Ayanna while also playing the game is like competing in two challenges simultaneously. Later in the episode, Tech and Ayanna's relationship is compared to an old married couple's, which really makes me wish we'd seen more of their interactions, because none of the other duos have a dynamic that's anything close to that. And if they'd gotten more screen time throughout the past few weeks, then I wouldn't have been so nervous they were going to get eliminated when the beginning of this episode heavily featured them. Elsewhere, Janae and MJ are having the opposite partner experience, and if they make it to the final and win, I'll remember this scene as the start of that storyline. First, MJ tells us that he hopes Janae's impressive political game will help them in the end, which feels like the setup to a future storyline where exactly that happens. And then Janae says that she knows she can beat Jody in a final, as long as she's got a supportive partner like MJ. We're reminded of Janae's appearance alongside Zach in Battle of the Exes 2. I like that the editors use footage of Zach to depict what an unsupportive partner looks like, but of all the horrible things he said to Janae that season, the clip that's used is so mild, such an incomplete picture of just how awful Zach was. It'd be like explaining why BoJack Horseman is a bad guy by showing someone the episode where he eats the Navy SEAL's muffins. We arrive at the season's third cenote. And no, I'm not talking about TJ's eyes. The mission is called Dive and Conquer. It begins with a half-mile run to said cenote. Everyone jumps in, then swims to a puzzle answer key that's in the water. After studying the key, teams run the half-mile back to the start and assemble the puzzle at their stations. You can run back to the answer key as many times as necessary. First pair to finish their puzzle wins. Oh, yeah. And also, everyone's tethered to their partner during the running portions, but it sort of feels like an afterthought. This might be the most high stakes mission of the season. It's billed as a mini final. No one has a life shield because there wasn't an elimination last episode, and the numbers between both alliances are even, with 6 people left on each side. So there's a lot to be gleaned from the winner. Overall, though, I thought the segment was kind of poorly edited, especially from a confessional standpoint. There's a lot of cast members explaining their approaches under the guise of strategy, but really, they're just naming obvious things. Like Melinda saying that if she and Nehemiah can remember what puzzle piece goes where, then they'll perform well. Or Janae predicting that whichever team needed the least amount of trips to the cenote would win. There's also Nehemiah telling us as the mission begins that he and Melinda need to conserve energy because they don't know how far away the puzzle pieces are, even though TJ just told us that the cenote is a half-mile away. And more importantly, the puzzle pieces aren't at the cenote. They're at everyone's stations, which is where the starting point is. So the reason Nehemiah doesn't know how far away they are is because they're not far. They're near. Later, when we hear from Nehemiah next, he says that the king's palace needs a mission win for morale, which I thought was such a funny confessional because the main narrative surrounding the king's palace is that they're too celebratory, which is totally incongruous to the idea that their morale is low. Unfortunately for Nehemiah, his wish for a win doesn't come true. Even with Jody and Brad at the back of the pack for the first time, thanks to their failure to notice that all of these horns are different colors, no one from the King's Palace is able to take the top spot. Melinda and Nehemiah do put up another impressive performance, but they still finish behind both Janelle and Darrell, the runner-ups, and Janae and MJ, the mission winners. Their victory comes largely thanks to the fact that they're the only team that understood the best way to memorize the puzzle answer key. Instead of trying to remember entire pieces as a whole, Janae and MJ memorized by individual color. I didn't particularly like the puzzle, or even think of it as a puzzle since it's entirely memorization-based, but I did like watching people figure out a smart way to solve it, whatever it is. Some other things I liked were Ayanna revealing that while some contestants fear heights or physical contact, her challenge fear is needing to remember things. Darrell invents a new word.
Performancely, we got second. Is that a word?
No.
Performancely?
No.
Performancely, we got second. So they can't blame us on our performancely.
It's not a word.
The editors use a Pointer Sisters song, and TJ jims the camera while people struggle to solve their puzzles. The last place team, and the one heading straight into the arena as a result, is Jasmine and Latarian. Throughout the mission, they're respectful of each other, but also don't work that well together. They both seemingly want to take control of the puzzle solving and don't really trust the other's work. Latarian also gets frustrated, though he hides it well, with Jasmine's inability to keep up running-wise with the other cast members. In her defense, though, I still think she performs pretty okay given the mission's grueling nature. And based on some of the cast's reactions to finishing, it really did seem grueling. The reactions reminded me of how people felt at the end of the Edge of Extinction log carry during Survivor Winners at War. Deliberation begins immediately after the mission. Knowing that the final is fast approaching, Janae wonders if she and MJ should turn on their alliance, since both Jody and Brad and Janelle and Darrell are bigger competition than most of the King's Palace teams. Maybe all of them, if Melinda and Nehemiah are having an off day. Ultimately, MJ convinces Janae that because they don't know exactly when the final is happening, they'll risk preemptively alienating their allies by targeting them now. Plus, we learn that Jody and Brad are extremely cocky about winning the final, which could mean they're feeling too comfortable. In the world of reality TV competitions, that can be a game-ending mistake. So after Janae relents, Melinda and Nehemiah and Ayanna and Tech are nominated for elimination, which surprises no one. I think there's a lot of merit to Janae wanting to target Jody and Brad, but in this specific instance, I agree with MJ's hesitancy, though not for the reasons he said. Whichever team gets voted into the arena will compete against Jasmine and Laterrian, and while it's true anything can happen in elimination, the chances of Jasmine and Laterrian as a unit beating Jody and Brad as a unit are objectively slim. After nominations are set, the editors use these shots of the cast at some sort of 80s, 90s neon party as transitional footage, which feels like such a waste because who doesn't want to watch the cast party? Any scene that includes Darrell wearing this wig should automatically be included in full. However, what we transition into is the start of a storyline that produces what might end up being the season's most iconic moment. Turns out, not everyone's enjoying themselves at the mysterious, unexplained neon party. As most of the cast dances and drinks together, Ayanna's by herself, cleaning up what she describes as a disheveled part of the house where people were hanging out a couple hours prior. That someone grows irritated with messiness isn't uncommon on a reality show that features people sharing a house. But Ayanna's proven throughout the season that, for better or worse, she knows how to elevate a semi-regular occurrence into something much bigger and more memorable.
And it's hard for me to be in my fantasy world if I'm looking at empty beer bottles and old trash of food that they didn't eat.
We abruptly cut to some time later that same night. Jody's holding court, telling the story of when she tried to retrieve her Greek salad from the area where we saw Ayanna cleaning in the previous scene. Basically, the salad is gone. Jody asks Ayanna about it. Ayanna responds by complaining that no one's helping her clean and calling Jody privileged. The use of the word privileged irritates Jasmine enough that she confronts Ayanna about it, which leads to this fantastic Ayanna confessional.
I'm not gonna bite on this fish tonight.
And this equally fantastic Jasmine comeback.
No, I will not. You're not my fucking mama. Your name is not fucking Rhonda Renard.
There's a lot to this segment outside of some funny quotes, but it's kind of impossible to unpack it because of the way the whole thing is edited. First, the source of the conflict, Ayanna calling Jody privileged, is only talked about. We never see any footage of their interaction, and we also never even hear Ayanna's version of events. Who knows? Maybe Jody did take a tone when she asked Ayanna about her salad. I doubt it, but no one can say for sure since we didn't see it happen. Second, when Jasmine decides to confront Ayanna, it's heavily implied that most of the cast has been growing increasingly annoyed with her for a while, but none of that is included or even really hinted at in earlier episodes. So again, it's hard to discuss something that we're only told about, never shown. And for once, I don't think sloppy editing is to blame. I think it's intentional that we never see Jody and Ayanna's interaction, and I think it's very, very intentional that the most time is devoted to Jasmine confronting Ayanna about using the word privileged. Regardless, the storyline reaches its conclusion the next day at the selection. Ayanna promises Tech not to talk. Then, as soon as the votes are cast, speaking of, Melinda and Nehemiah are sent to the arena, Ayanna immediately requests the floor. She reveals that Jody's salad wasn't accidentally thrown out like everyone thought. In actuality, Ayanna ate it, specifically because she knew it belonged to Jody. I'd call it a speech, but it's honestly more like a dramatic monologue that would get Ayanna a full ride scholarship to NYU.
Jody, I ate your Greek salad, and I knew it was yours. Opened it up. I didn't use a fork. I ate it. It was delicious. I felt rich. I felt special. I felt like I had a man sitting there next to me that could help me enjoy. I'm just telling you the truth.
Now, should you call someone privileged to deflect from the fact that you stole the salad they purchased? No. But at the same time, for me, that barely detracts from what is otherwise a phenomenal moment of reality TV. There are so many things I love about it. The repeated, specific detail that it was a Greek salad, Jody's statuesque reaction while everyone else can't help but laugh, the end of the scene, which includes Ayanna promising not to Tanya Harding Jody. I'm not sure how anything that happens for the rest of the season could possibly top the salad monologue. And that's largely because I don't think anyone else will come anywhere close to matching Ayanna's energy. She's the perfect combination of unpredictable and eager to be bothered. It may not make her the most likable character, but it does make her make the best TV. We see it all throughout the episode. Like when she accuses Laterrian, who's in her alliance, of trying to cheat off her puzzle at the mission just because he walks behind her on the way to his own puzzle station. I said it once earlier this season after Ayanna cruelly and single-handedly sent Sophia into elimination. Well, I'm not necessarily rooting for Ayanna to win anything. I am always rooting for her to remain in the game. And I really hope she's recast in future All-Stars seasons. Because villainous or not, she's bringing something no one else is. The elimination game is called Like Clockwork. One partner is placed inside a glass box, while the other remains outside with a puzzle. On the floor of the box are 6 possible answer keys to said puzzle, only one of which is actually correct. Using the answer keys, the partner in the box tells the partner outside how to solve the puzzle. Once they realize an answer key is wrong, they move on to the next one. The entire time, sand pours into the box from above, making it increasingly more difficult for the partner inside to read the answer keys. First pair to complete their puzzle, which is to put a series of gears in the correct order so they can all spin together, wins. It was weird to realize that because of back-to-back medical DQs, despite already playing in pairs for a few episodes, this is the season's first partner elimination. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I like the design of this game a lot. It requires a strong partnership, which I think all duos eliminations should, and it feels unique but not carnival-esque. There is a level of luck involved, wherein a team could win just because they happen to choose the right answer key first, and that does feel a little cheap, but I'm nitpicking. Nehemiah and Laterrian are both in the box, with Melinda and Jasmine assembling the puzzle. And even though the editors try their best to create suspense, the end result, that Jasmine and Laterrian are eliminated, is unsurprising, even with Like Clockwork being kind of a crapshoot game. Melinda and Nehemiah obviously have a communicative advantage. They appeared on the same Real World season together. They have a comfortable, playful relationship, as evidenced by Melinda imitating Nehemiah's signature arena entrance at the start of the segment. We also learn that Melinda has a gear puzzle game on her phone, so she's got a familiarity with the genre the other competitors don't. Though their elimination has seemed inevitable basically since they became partners, I'm going to miss Jasmine and Laterrian and feel like both of them had more to contribute to the season. When this All-Stars cast was announced, one of the things I was most excited about was getting to watch Jasmine and Janae together again. But their relationship is barely showcased. And as for Laterrian, I just find him to be an incredibly captivating character. He's got a genuine intensity that I've never seen in any contestant except maybe Abram, but Laterrian is a way less problematic cast member. He's also funny, supportive, and unafraid to cry while wearing a sleep mask. He doesn't get much of a send-off this episode because so much time is devoted to Ayanna's Ayanna-ness. So I hope to see him again as early as next season. There are a lot of people who have never won a challenge that I'd really like to see win one, and Laterrian is at the top of that list. Also, one of the saddest moments of the season was watching sand continue to pour onto him for several seconds after he and Jasmine already lost the elimination. As their reward for winning, Melinda and Nehemiah get the last life shields of the season. So not only is there just one mission left before the final, but Melinda and Nehemiah are also safe from the last elimination, which means that at least one team from the other alliance will finally have to compete in an arena. I'm excited for Melinda to have made her first final ever, but honestly, I was kind of hoping she and Nehemiah would lose. It's nothing against either of them. Really, it's against the editors. They've featured Nehemiah so heavily throughout the entire season. I just need a break from him. And the more screen time he continues to get, the harder it is to root for him. As the cast leaves the arena, Nehemiah leaves us with this inspiring message. We see a little bit of tension between Janelle and Darrell during the mission, which is another way I think the episode establishes Janae and MJ as sleeper frontrunners. At the same time, an MJ confessional about how he and Janae managed to avoid the arena all season, combined with a different MJ confessional about him anticipating consequences as a result of their decisions throughout this episode, have me nervous that they might be the last team eliminated before the final. And the repetitive acknowledgement that not nominating Jody and Brad could be a $500,000 mistake worries me that even if Janae and MJ do make the final, then they're just going to lose to Jody and Brad anyway. It gets overshadowed by Ayanna's salad monologue, but another great moment from the selection is Melinda telling the cast not to vote for her because she's a positive energy source who's never called anyone out about their privilege and or not doing dishes. And that's it. All my thoughts about the 8th episode of the 2nd season of the Challenge All-Stars that I could figure out how to convey mostly coherently. Want more challenge recaps? Then come back next Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Bye! Don't steal other people's salads.